Well, welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Rick and Danny Show. Rick, how you doing?
Living the dream, Danny. How are you?
I'm doing well, too. Thank you. Thank you. You know what this part of the episode is coming up here? This is our new segment called Rick's Rants or Rick's Reactions, whatever you want to go with.
I'm well caffeinated thanks to Dunkin' Donuts, and
Thank
so
you, Dunkin'.
let's rock and roll.
Do you want to tell a dad joke?
Oh, thanks, Brenna. Oh
Darn
man,
it,
let's
Brenna.
make him feel uncomfortable.
Darn it, Brennan.
Pull out your book, look it up. Comes prepared to make me angry, but he can't even get his dad.
We're gonna
joke.
we're gonna
His
do
dad
we're,
joke.
we'll throw it in. We'll throw it in.
Okay.
Like how about now?
No. We're gonna start our segment first. I'm not ready with it yet.
Gotta
I'm
look
ready
it up
for-
first.
He's got to look it up while you rant.
Yeah. So back to the segment of Rick's rant.
You know I don't prepare, right?
I know you. No, I know you don't prepare.
No, what I'm saying is, come up with a dad joke.
Off the cuff.
Yeah, why not? Shoot from the hip. Pow.
I was just told a Halloween joke.
Okay.
And I'm trying to remember the punchline here.
Ouch.
Can you
Thank-
insert Jeopardy music right now?
Sure.
Insert Jeopardy music. I'm gonna get the punchline.
I might just use that. That's beautiful.
That is nice, Rick. Good job. Since I said Halloween, I gotta get it.
Do 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 dun dun.
That's really good.
That was,
was
you
really
knew
nice.
the whole thing. That's
it's
pretty
Jeopardy.
awesome.
I'm going to cut
Danny?
that and just make that.
All
a
right.
joke.
What does your joke say?
Answer?
And how much did you wager? Sorry, you've been eliminated.
All right, Rick. This is appropriate. How do vampires get around during Halloween? How do they travel?
I don't know. How do they travel?
On blood vessels.
That's pretty good.
There we go.
That's good. That's good.
All right. It
That
was
fits
worth
a
the
lot
wait.
that fits a lot of criteria.
There we go.
Halloween in November, somewhat medically related. Yeah.
It's good. How was
was
your
good.
Halloween? Was it good?
Yeah, we didn't do anything.
Yeah.
How was your
You
Halloween?
didn't scare children?
No. Did you scare children?
Yeah. I just naturally. It doesn't have to be Halloween.
I saw the kids' costumes. They were cute.
Yeah, thank you. I just naturally
Yeah.
scare children.
What did you guys dress up
We were Mario themed. So I
Nice.
was Luigi.
Nice.
Ethel was Mario. Ethan was Bowser. And Arya was Rosalina. Yeah.
Nice.
Nice.
It's like, yeah. So.
Did you
it's
and
good.
Morgan dress up with the kids or?
No. As people were asking me what I was dressed up as, I was like, angry suburban dad.
That's exactly what
That's
my
good.
cousin said. We were texting, so they sent us pictures of the kids in Georgia. My nephew was Maverick, super
Okay.
cute.
Mhm.
My niece was a unicorn. I don't know.
Yeah.
We were like,
Reasonable.
yeah, we were like, Justin, what are you? He's like a disgruntled suburban dad. I was like, nice,
It's good.
nice.
It turns out it's the role I was born to play.
A couple of our friends dressed up as Bruno. Those were good costumes.
Like Bruno from the Encanto
Yeah,
movie. Yeah,
yeah.
my 3-year-old is like
Yeah.
knee deep in that movie right now.
Oh, yeah.
He's like obsessed with it,
It's a great movie.
and so we keep having
The
to
music is good in that movie.
we keep having to watch. Like he won't start at the beginning. He wants to start at the Bruno song,
Mhm.
and then we just like it has to
It's the
start.
best song.
Yeah, but we start there, and then
Yeah.
you'll like watch most of the rest of the movie. What it's like. And so now his new one is "We don't talk about daddy." No. And I'm like, thanks,
He's
buddy.
ad-libbing a little. That's
Thanks,
nice.
buddy. you're
Well, you ready now, Rick?
sure, why not?
Let's get into it.
Okay.
All business.
So how we
Very
do
aggressive,
these?
but all
How
right.
we do these, Rick?
God forbid we have a conversation
aggressive.
on a podcast.
I'm not being
Open-ended
aggressive.
forum.
I'm just being.
You just get really
Just
into
being
it.
me.
You just get really into it really fast.
We just
And
appreciate-
love
Yeah,
it.
we should have some almost like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire music. Dun, dun, dun.
Okay.
You know?
I think my
Now that
Jeopardy
the
was
golf-
better.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a good.
Now that the golf
Dun, dun,
tournament's
dun.
over, I have some more time to do some more graphics. Maybe finish some website pages I've been working on for 900 years. Just,
I'm gonna keep my mouth shut.
okay.
Not a lot to do. So how this works is Rick does not know which topics I'm bringing up here, and
true.
we're trying to get his reaction to the theme of each article that I'm presenting to him.
And if it wasn't clear to the audience from our previous however many episodes, I do not prepare and constantly shoot from the hip. So,
but he has a strong opinion usually about what we're talking about, as long as it's not a heme topic.
Yeah, then I don't even understand the words you use.
So the first one is right down his alley here. Disparities in radiation exposure to the heart from whole breast radiation therapy is the title of this.
Okay.
So this was published in the Journal of the National Cancer Institute just in August. And what they were, I'll give the summary first, and then we'll go over some of the details, is that they noted that both Black or African American women and Asian women receive significantly higher mean heart doses than white women in this study when they were exposed to whole breast radiation. So how was this done? So they talk a little bit about the background of...
it was like some Michigan consortium, right?
Michigan consortium.
Yeah, so this
so
group
database.
This group publishes this stuff all the time.
Yeah. Well, see, we're getting his opinion off the bat here. So the mean heart dose was compared for Asian, Black, and white women who were treated with whole breast radiation therapy at 25 institutions over between 2012 and 2014. There was over 8,000 patients. 2% were Asian, 18% were Black, 80% were white. So, I mean, just that breakdown alone, of course, we've had... very few Asian Americans represented in this study. The Black race was independently associated with a higher mean heart dose for women with left-sided cancers receiving conventional fractionation, and Asian women with left-sided cancers receiving an accelerated fractionation had a higher mean heart dose. So their summary here was based on modeling higher heart cardiac dose would increase the number of events and deaths in Black and Asian patients compared to white patients, with an excess of 2.6 events and 1.3 deaths in Black patients, and 0.7 events and 0.3 deaths in Asian patients. And so they were just bringing to the attention that there might be some disparities in toxicity of whole breast radiation therapy. What do you think about that?
Well, I guess my main question is, so what is the hypothesis that the radiation doctors in Michigan are purposely treating Black women poorly? Is that the hypothesis? Because that's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah. No, it's kind of a ridiculous article to get published about
in the JNCI.
Disparities about...
This is what is being published in
standard radiation therapy.
Journal.
Yeah, right. Right.
So, I mean, I don't know the details, but I would imagine they don't control for treatment modality in terms of what technology was used, which delivery method of the technology was used, whether breath hold was used, whether prone was used, whether other techniques that we commonly use to spare the heart. We have no way to know if that was balanced across the subsites. We don't know if their cancer types were balanced. Were there more medial tumors in the African American group, or there were more lateral tumors in the Caucasian group? So basically, I mean, I just, unfortunately, I appreciate people looking into healthcare disparities, and it's very important that we do that. But to publish inflammatory articles like this, what is the purpose of publishing this? I think that's my question.
To reach any conclusion that...
Because again, the only logical conclusion from this is that what we look at the patient's race when we're determining... I see if I'm treating someone who's African American, I'm going to give more radiation to their heart. I mean, that just doesn't make...
Right.
Logically, that's the only conclusion you can make from this study.
Yeah.
Which is...
I'll tell you, their conclusion is teasing out the reasons for these differences across different populations is challenging.
Yeah, because it's BS.
Because it's BS.
Okay.
Right.
Well,
yeah.
Anyway.
I get it. Yeah.
I'll appreciate their hard work in trying to find these disparities. It's just unfortunate that this is the inflammatory stuff that's published.
Well, I think the only thing to think about is, is the disparity coming from because 25 different institutions, there may be patients treated at some institutions that aren't getting the standard, modalities of treatment. Not that modality, but using newer technology to spare toxicity.
Absolutely.
Right.
But
So
if you had that
might
information
right.
and can make that
Right.
conclusion,
Right.
but without that information, the salacious headline here is
Right.
to make the argument that what we're purposely mistreating African American women, which is, I just find that appalling that that's what they seem to be trying to advertise with this study.
I'm surprised at the publication in a well reputable journal, and that you're looking at a big amount of patients, over 8,000 patients. I think they needed many more than 8,000 patients to even make conclusions like this, and have those details kind of ironed out in the study.
Because, like, let's say you found out and you were like, oh, it turns out at the same center, African American patients are less likely to get, IMRT versus not, compared to at the same center, then that's a weird thing, right?
Well, it has to be at the same, yeah, right.
Does that mean
makes sense.
Does that mean that they have insurances that are less likely to pay for it, or does it mean the center is doing something, nefarious? Then that would be, to me, you at least have some granular data to make an observation and a hypothesis versus, I don't know.
And what do you mean, just for the listeners, IMRT? What do you mean by that?
So just different, more advanced ways to treat breast cancer. For the longest time, insurance companies and our own radiation society, in their infinite wisdom, that's an eye roll for those who aren't watching on video, decided that they thought it was against the best interests of patients not to allow IMRT to be used in breast cancer. And despite the fact that data was coming out at pretty crazy rates, including phase 3 data showing a benefit to toxicity outcomes. So it's finally, the pendulum is shifting now, where the society, after 6 years of this, finally has taken that, recommendation off their list that it's okay to treat with advanced techniques, because it's what we would all want for our family members. So it's just, you're scratching a wound that unfortunately is there for me on a lot of topics with my specialty.
Well, thank you, Rick. That was a good
How's
good
that?
discussion.
That was
That was a good discussion.
That was
a
as
rant.
nice as I could be.
All right. Well, I needed
rate
to
that as
get
an eye
one
roll.
radiation topic in there. I needed to squeeze one in
Well, I'm
there.
fired up now.
Fired
What else
up.
you got for me?
All right. Now we're going into surgery. Next topic is laparoscopic versus open surgery for low rectal cancer. All right. And the one-liner here is short-term results of a large randomized trial support the use of laparoscopic assisted surgery. So this was a study that came out of China. It was a multi-center non-inferiority study, randomized trial involving over 1,000 patients with locally advanced low-lying rectal cancers. Stage 2 and 3, patients were assigned 2-to-1 to laparoscopic surgery or open surgery. So what do you think? What do you think the results showed, Rick?
Well, what was the primary endpoint?
So what they were looking at here was rates of complications. They have a few different. Let me see what their primary endpoint was. Give me one sec. Yeah, they don't have enough follow-up for their disease-free and overall survival measurements, but this was more looking at rates of complications.
Yeah, my guess would be it's going to show the laparoscopic has lower rates of complication.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're exactly right.
I think these surgery studies I'm glad they do them. It's just
Yeah.
very hard. How do you control for surgeon skill, right?
Right.
That's
right.
the hardest part.
Yeah, they didn't say here because multi-center. I'd have to look at the details.
It's one of those things where it's like, if all
Yeah.
the opens are being done at this center and all the laparoscopics are being done at another
Yeah.
center.
They did list here that the surgeons needed baseline to have performed more than 100 laparoscopic procedures.
Because I think that's
so.
the hardest thing is sometimes when you compare the
Yeah.
newer robot and other surgery
Mhm.
techniques, there's a learning curve.
Right.
And so
Right.
it's hard to account for that.
So actually, operative time was longer in laparoscopic versus open surgery. Statistically significant, it was longer by 15 minutes, which I don't know, how much I mean, anesthesia time, I guess, is the one thing to consider there. Rates of intraoperative complications were similar between laparoscopic and open surgery. Rates of postoperative complications were similar, a little bit less in the laparoscopic group as far as an absolute percentage, 13 versus 17.2%, but was not statistically significant. The duration of post-surgical analgesic use was shorter in the laparoscopic surgery. Was not surprising. 45 hours versus 48 hours. That's kind of interesting measurement. Yeah, they just, I guess, looked at the IV analgesic use post-operative.
You know, and the other thing too is interesting would be to know is so when you design a non-inferiority trial, what is your I'm trying to think of the easiest way to ask this, like what is the bound that they're willing to accept as non-inferior, right? So like,
I don't have those details either.
And that's the hardest thing when you look at these studies is like I could create any non-inferiority trial and make it sound equal if I said that I would accept a 50% difference. If that's what the study's power for and it's within that bound, then you can say non-inferior even if you look at the numbers and there's a delta. So
the absolutes
sometimes these can be gamed depending on.
But these numbers are pretty close here.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying this study in particular. Just that's the method. You always want to read the methods section of these of the studies.
Hospital stays were 1 day shorter in the laparoscopic arm, statistically significant. Time to first defecation was shorter in the laparoscopic arm. Rate of sphincter preservation, this was one of the things they highlighted, was higher in the laparoscopic surgery arm, 71% versus 65%.
Be interesting to break down the tumor subtypes and kind of.
And negative margins was similar between the groups too.
And I'm assuming all these patients had standard neoadjuvant treatment, I would imagine.
Yeah, they didn't.
2 or 3.
I imagine that they're going to list that, when they publish their data. This was in JAMA Oncology, so they're probably going to publish again when they get the survival data out. Probably, can't imagine with these similar rates of complications and it looks like negative margins.
I don't think there's going to be any.
There's not going to be really a difference there.
But it would just be interesting to know were the groups balanced for
for treatment
receipt of neoadjuvant chemo.
Sure.
Or chemoradiation.
Yeah, but it shows you that laparoscopic surgeries can be done for cancers like this and with high success probably and lower rates of some complications. So that's, and I think we see that in practice. I mean, I think we see more, like you said, more robotic surgeries now. And
yeah, I mean, most of the people coming out of training now are more minimally invasive focused than the old school ways.
All right, last one. Ready for it?
Why not?
High-risk surgery in older people with dementia. Good idea? Not good idea.
Depends on what the surgery's for. Is it a life-threatening situation? Then yes.
You're right.
Is it a high-risk surgery for like an elective hip? Probably not.
Well, this was retrospective.
Okay.
Published in JAMA Surgery. So,
I don't know. What is that?
So,
it's a surgeon.
JAMA generally
JAMA
is
family. The JAMA family
is a good reputable.
The JAMA family of networks.
So studies show high rates of complications and mortality and low probability of being discharged home. So that's kind of their summary here. So retrospective study looking at 6,800 U.S. Medicare patients who underwent high-risk inpatient surgical procedures. They said 71% of these procedures or surgeries were elective.
Do they have a breakdown of what they are?
No, they don't. But, and I can't get access to JAMA to look at the details. But they just break it down to say patients with dementia compared to those without had similar inpatient in-hospital mortality, but they had higher frequencies of inpatient complications, 90-day mortality, and they were less likely to be discharged home.
It's also be interesting to know how they define dementia. Was it just based on?
I think it was
looking at a Medicare database. Then
I think they're just looking for diagnoses.
ICD.
Yeah.
Well, and as we all know, those can be coded. You can have someone who's like
Someone
end
was
stage
told.
Alzheimer's
Yeah.
versus like mild cognitive impairment, and then call it they're called dementia, but they're obviously not the same
Right.
patient population.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's what's hard about these kind of claims data, and I see,
It'd be nice to who's putting in the diagnosis. Is it actually coming from someone who evaluated them specifically for that?
I mean, because that's the thing is
diagnosis?
there's formal neurocognitive testing you can do to actually
Mm-hmm.
make a diagnosis, but I think a lot of people carry
Sure.
around a diagnosis of dementia who have not formally been
Mm-hmm.
actually tested for it, and so it's hard to know. It's going to be hard to tease that out in a study like this. But I mean, just intuitively, it makes sense in the sense that if I was treating a patient with severe dementia and you had an elective procedure that
Yeah.
wasn't going to extend their life or improve their quality of life, why in the world would you do it?
Right. Right. I mean, I think they're looking at, and I don't have all the breakdowns with this, taking dementia just as, and accounting for all other covariates, all other confounding, problems. And they're listing the estimated 1-year mortality in the patients with dementia after surgeries that are elective at 33%. I mean,
I
that's
believe that.
extremely high.
I would believe that, though.
So,
Again, is it for like an
Um,
elective knee? Or
right.
is it for like a carotid endarterectomy because they're about to
Have a
not perfuse their
stroke or-
brain?
yeah,
I think those are, one you would say, okay, maybe you consider the surgery even if the patient has dementia, if that's, it's, and then obviously like how many of these patients are living at home, functioning patients with dementia versus like,
Yeah.
in a long-term mental care or a long-term memory care facility who, then you certainly don't want to be doing
Yeah.
tons of stuff on them because you're not helping them. So it's just hard to.
Well, I think I think about this from our standpoint, medical oncology, radiation oncology. I mean, we do treat patients with dementia, but we don't administer routinely high intensity chemotherapy or techniques, probably radiation techniques that would really impact their potential other medical conditions that they have that could prove that they're bedbound after the treatment or incapacitated.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably another episode we'll have to record someday. But I think this opens up the topic of, I think in this country we do a really, really bad job of end of life and, expectations around end of life.
Mm-hmm.
I think we shield people in this country from death a lot, and that's why you get all these, not even the patient themselves, but their family or whoever, do this, do that, we don't care, even if the patient somehow did recover miraculously, they already, they're basically, could be, bedbound or, non-cognitively functioning. And so I think, it's another can of worms that we,
Mm-hmm.
could discuss at another time. But I think this just speaks to sometimes we do all these things when
Yeah.
it doesn't really. Well, who are we really treating? Are we treating ourselves as the physicians or the provider, or are we treating like the family? But that's not our job. The person who should be benefiting is the patient.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think nowadays, because we have more options, in front of us as providers, but understanding that those options are not appropriate for some patients, and actually, guiding the patient and the family that that's not a good idea, and that, this is kind of
Correct.
where we transition to a more, symptom comfort-based management.
Right.
Well, that's it, Rick.
Thanks for sharing, man. Those
all
were
my
good. Those were good.
topics for you. It'll be back next time. Another 3 big topics.
Doing 3, huh?
Yeah, in
I like
threes.
it.
We'll do
All
it in threes.
Get some dad jokes cued in too.
Yeah, I wasn't well prepared today again, Brent. I'm
It's okay.
sorry.
You're still bummed out about losing the long drive title.
Yeah,
I can see it on your face.
and I was up late. I was trying to repair my son's glasses last night. The screw
no.
popped out, and 2 hours I couldn't get it. I couldn't fix
Yeah.
it. I should have let it go after the first 20 minutes, and then my wife could have just brought him into the eyeglass store and got it fixed.
Yeah, I'm really bad at, as you might imagine, patience with things like that.
Yeah.
Like if I can't get it, I know, shocking.
You just put it down, or
I'm
you keep
just,
trying.
No, I'm just like, I'm over it, and then
Oh, do you?
usually
Yeah.
Morgan will fix it.
Strike me
'Cause
as
she
the
has
impatient
patience.
Well,
type.
Hethel tried, and then she said, "Can you do it?" And when she said that, I'm like, "Well, yeah, I could do it," but I couldn't do it.
It's understandable.
And I was up way too late trying to do that. So, but yeah,
Thank you all for listening to another episode of the Rick and Danny Show. Check us out on our social media feed, underscore CSNF on Twitter, and then everything else is the Rick and Danny Show. Instagram, Facebook. Follow CSNF, the company, as well. Brenna posts relatively frequently on there and keeps you guys up to date on everything going on with the company. So we appreciate all your support and for listening.
thanks for listening, guys.